So this is an issue. We've now got .zip domains. We've got .mov domains. The macOS had a backdoor. It's more than just info stealing. Cybercrime that's related to the North Korean funded attacks. We want to talk about the new domains that are now available to us through Google, the .zip domain and the .mov domain. This is creating a big controversy in the cybersecurity world, and for good reason. So we've got the .zip domains, and then we've also got the .mov domains. So .zip being a common file type that we see on computers every day of a compressed file. It might be documents, images, videos, an executable maybe, that is then compressed and then sent to us in any means. And then the .mov being a Apple type of a video type. .mov, we're going to see what happens with that. .zip, I think, is a bigger issue. It's such a common file type now that people are going to click a link that says .zip and think they're going to get a compressed file. They're not going to think they're going to get a domain. It's going to take a long time before people realize that this is also a domain name. On top of that, we're now seeing that it's being indexed as a domain. So that means, like, when you message someone, it's going to turn into a blue link, and people might think, oh, that's where I download it. Let me just click that, and it's going to lead to a malicious domain. So I want to go over a little article here that Wired has released, and they speak about how, as of May, Google has released 8 new top-level domains, and the suffixes at the end of these URLs, like .com and .uk, include .zip and .mov. They also have .nexus, I believe they had .dad, and other lesser scary suffixes. So the .zip, why it's so bad is that they say it's ubiquitous of data compression, and we're used to seeing it day to day, and we've never really seen it in a domain name. And so people might think that they could put document.zip, or maybe they might put a company's name .zip, send it in an email and say, hey, please open recent document, and they'll click it, it'll download the payload, attacker then has access to that computer. Or worse, or whatever the attack is. So Wired says here that researchers have already started seeing malicious actors buying up strategic .zip URLs and beginning to test them in phishing campaigns, but reactions are mixed on how much of a negative impact the .zip and .mov domains will have when scams that prey on URL confusion are already an inadvertible threat. Additionally, proxies and other traffic management tools already deploy anti-phishing protections to cut down on the risks if users misclick, and the .zip and .mov will supply and incorporate it into those defenses. However, I don't know that that's entirely the full picture that we're seeing here. It's not as easy as whitelisting or blacklisting or having some sort of AI-driven result where you're not going to get a phishing campaign successfully attack a client. I think we need to think in bigger pictures. You know, what if we're talking about cross-site scripting? What if we're talking about a database that allows zip files but doesn't allow, PHP files? Well, how do we allow zip files but then not allow redirections to that same name, but it's a domain? See, I've been going over TryHackMe and learning a lot about website exploitation and pen testing on the web sort of side of things. So there's so many different ways that we can attack a web server, and these .zip domains, .mov domains, or any other domain that's going to come out that looks similar or acts similar to a file type, it's going to be really hard to filter out. Something that came to mind was the cross-site scripting. If we had a reflected attack where the attacker sends a malicious URL, on the end of that URL is a .zip URL essentially, but looks to be a file, and they send it in a phishing campaign to the victim. The victim's going to click on it, not going to see anything wrong with it. It's going to be, www. whatever, and then the query, and then the URL. They're going to click on it. It's going to redirect them to this website that is a malicious website, and then whatever payload the attacker wants to use can be used. I don't know exactly how it's going to look and how it's going to happen, but the ability is there. To some of the content that's on TryHackMe, we see the server-side request forgery. So it's a vulnerability that allows a malicious user to cause the web server to make additional or edited HTTP requests to a resource of the attacker's choosing. So this is a new thing. We're not necessarily going to be as cluey to go, oh, that was actually redirection to this. Yes, we can see the logs that are posted to GET and the like, but at first glance, you're not going to know as clear. I don't believe you're going to see as clear that this is a redirection to maybe a malicious URL. We will in time, but there's this big period of time where we're just new to this, and there's going to be so many unpatched filters, unpatched systems, people that are unaware and clicking on these .zip files and .mov files. And that's scary. That's bad. So we've gone ahead and obviously registered our domain ingestservices.zip and ingest.zip. We're going to be redirecting those direct to this YouTube video just to prove a point. We did think about whether or not paying for it or not, and just, sort of blacklisting all of this, but you can't in this current scope, in this environment. You need to sort of just buy up those domains. And a nice person that has done that is John Hammond. He posted a week ago, actually, so it was quite close to the release of this and very on top of it all, that he says, don't worry everyone, the internet is still a safe place. Buying up most of the domains that you would think could be used in phishing campaigns or malicious use, like the 0.zip, 1.zip, apk.zip, bin.zip, cobalstrike.zip, dll.zip, all this sort of normal obfuscation, the areas that you would think, oh, this is definitely going to be used in a phishing campaign or in a malware campaign or redirection campaign. php.zip, ps1, py, scr, vbs, vmdk, vmx, and xml. So we have these security advisors that are buying up on these domains, making sure that they're not being used for malicious means. However, there's still so many domains. So what does Google have to say about this? Google, being the big conglomerate that it is and being aware of phishing campaigns and trying to be on top of any sort of scams and the like, what do they have to say? So Bleeping Computer contacted Google about these concerns. They said that the risk of confusion between a file and domain is not new. They likened it to the .com and how in a terminal error you would have a COM file that was very similar to an executable file. Not exactly right, in the sense that at that time, the internet wasn't the internet that we have today. It wasn't widely available. It wasn't everyone on their computer. Not everyone even knew necessarily what the internet was. They didn't need it. Today, it's the backbone of our infrastructure. Everyone has a personal computer. Everyone has a mobile phone in their hand, which is a portable computer. So I don't really agree with likening it to the .com era. However, they go on to say that applications have mitigations for this, such as Google Safe Browsing. These mitigations will hold true for TLD, for top-level domains such as .zip. At the same time, new namespaces provided expanded opportunities for naming such as community.zip, url.zip. Google takes phishing and malware seriously, and Google Registry has existing mechanism to suspend or remove malicious domains across all of our top-level domains, including .zip, and we'll continue monitoring the usage of .zip. However, can you really monitor that many domains? Can you really have the strength to look into every individual one? It's really going to take a time of trial and error and reporting. A lot of things will go unnoticed. I noticed that when we registered our domains that you can have privacy protection turned on. That's going to make the whois lookup a lot harder. I know that in the Australian sector of domains, the .com.au, it has to be an Australian business, and you can't hide or obfuscate, not obfuscate, but you can't have a privacy protection in place where the whois record is redacted. You have a lot of information there. Maybe something like that being put in place would be more beneficial, where there has a few more extra steps before you can register it. I don't think that the .zip domain should be removed entirely, but I think that there should be more education around it and more hurdles to jump to avoid this. Going back to Wired's article, they have a quote from Marcus Hutchins who is a security researcher. He writes, "We've had this issue in the past and Google has just gone and caused the same problem again. Really seems like they created a big usability and security issue for downstream providers to clean up, all for no reason other than a low effort money grab." If we go back a little bit further, we'll see that, where is it? So we can see that Troy Hunt, a security researcher, says that he doesn't agree with the assertion that the new top-level domains will increase the effectiveness of phishing in any meaningful way because people are already so easily fooled by URLs. Yes, that's true, but why add to that? Why add another scope? If they're being attacked with phishing scams through .com, .tv, whatever, why add another vector for them? If we're already addressing these issues now, I don't think it's right to say it's not going to add any more risk. We're already at such a high risk. People fall for things so easily. No, that doesn't excuse the fact that this is bad. And we need the education, and we need to make sure that people are aware of these things before we roll out big new threat vectors, new threatscapes. I'm not against the idea of a .zip domain. Apparently it's been around since 2014. However, now it's publicly available. Good, whatever. Anyone should have any choice of any domain they want. But if it's going to come so closely to a file type, there needs to be a sense of awareness when releasing it, a sense of security, especially in this day and age when computers, technology, internet is our backbone. We're not in the .com era, the .com era. We're beyond that. And we need to have some level of boundaries that people have to jump over hurdles to get such a domain that is so closely related to a file type that we see every day on our computers, that we access all the time. If I send an email now to one of our clients and I say, hey, I'm going to be attaching a .zip folder or .zip file to this email, me referencing the name in that can then turn into a link. That's not good. If I say bluefolder.zip and I attach bluefolder.zip, but in the text bluefolder.zip gets changed into a URL, they're likely to click it, and that could be anyone's domain. Cross-site scripting. If we have a URL that's then been maliciously altered to say that it's querying for a .zip file, but really it's querying for a redirect to a .zip domain, are you going to look at it twice? I don't think you are. I wouldn't, to be honest. But that's why we need to have that education. We need to know about these things, be aware, and buy up the domains that are malicious. If you have a business or you have a name or you have an email that you're using, that you're going by, make sure that you go to Google Domains now, buy up the .zip equivalent of it, .mov if you want to, have a look at any other domains. I know for us, we've looked into it and made sure that we've bought as many similar domains or other domain types for our domain name so that we lessen the threat vector. And it comes down to that. At the end of the day, if we can lessen the threat vector and get rid of the cybersecurity burden on people, that's great, and we should do that. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Jordan Albaladejo. I work at Ingest Services. I'm the owner and lead engineer here. We love security. If you need any help with anything, please feel free to get in contact with us. We'd be happy to help. Thanks.